In today's video, I'm going to show you how to properly digitize a logo from start to finish. Watch until the end of the video to learn the best tips and tricks. So the first thing we're going to do is call in our artwork, and I'm going to load a backdrop, which is a PNG file. It is actually a raster image as opposed to a vector image, and this one is going to be our EL logo, so our Embroidery Legacy logo. And we'll just bring it in as a backdrop. And the first thing I'm going to do is just measure this and see exactly how big the artwork is. And if I want to measure just from the lettering down, I can see that this is about 4.6 inches. Now, that would be way too big for a left chest. Now, I'm going to do this at about 2.5 inches, I think, maybe a tiny bit more. Normally, you'll have 3 to 4 inches as far as the size for left chest. If you look at a 4-inch design that's going horizontally, that will pretty much go all the way across a pocket if it's there. And it's a pretty big design for a shirt that you're going to be wearing day in and day out. So I try to stay anywhere between 3 to 4, but in this logo, it is pretty much a square logo. And I think because there's not a lot of small detail, I'm going to try to get this around 2.5 inches. And the reason why I'm going to try to do 2.5 inches is I know that on most machines that have a tubular arm, so a multi-needle machine, you will be able to use that 2.5-inch height and get it on the front of a finished hat. So there, I'm going to try to sort of digitize it in a logical way so that, it's not a big design. There shouldn't be a lot of movement, but I'm going to try to digitize it so that I could use this on a hat in the future, but do it primarily for a left chest. Now, within our program, you also have the ability to preset your recipes, and it is set to cotton, which is the default recipe within the software. You can actually choose within your recipes to have no recipe, which means that you are manually setting all of your underlay, pull compensation. The software will recognize your settings and continue on the same path. But I know that I'm going to be doing this design for PKnit. I want this on a golf shirt. So I'm going to take this and go from cotton to PKnit, and I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see that the recipe actually says PKnit. And now I can choose from my widget. I have my widget right here. I can choose my brushes, and I'm going to go to a satin brush. And I can now start to create this. Again, I just chose a random color. It's going to I'll keep the 3D on so you can see what I'm creating, but I'm going to go right here. I'm going to cut short my open end a little bit. I did a left click, right for curves. I am in my fast draw input, which is my favorite input to have. I'm going to come almost right to the end here at the tip. I know it's going to exaggerate the pull compensation. Come to the other side, hit enter, and now it's going to ask me for my stitch inclinations or my directions. And I really only need a couple there. I'm going to hit enter again. I'm going to start and I'm going to stop right down here, and I'm going to hit enter. So I can see where my finishing point is right there. And I can now switch if I want. In my widget, I could choose a different brush because I want to do a run stitch to travel. But we also have a hotkey set up, which is the number 1 hotkey on your keyboard. This will automatically go to the default 2.5 millimeter run. You can change that default if you want. You can custom set it. But this will allow me to go from this point over to this point. So I'm going to drop a stitch right there. I'm in my run stitch mode. I'm going to come straight across. I'm going to do a little point up, and I'm going to do something like this. And that might look a little strange, but I actually did that little zigzag, and there you can see I'm finished off over here. There's my trim. But yeah, I didn't want to go just straight across, just in case when I do that blue stitch, I don't want to see another stitch underneath of it. I want to go back to my satin, so that's my number 3 on my keyboard, and I do have it set up as well on my Stream Deck, but I'm going to use the keyboard because you might not have a Stream Deck, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to do the same thing. There's a left click, right. I'm going to come all the way over to this point here and go straight, and then come to here and go down. Now, I want to let you know that at this point, though, I am going to change something. And I did this on purpose because I came across and did this. I'm going to add an extra little step here. So I'm going to escape. I'm going to delete what I just did. I'll just backspace from it. And I'm going to go back to my run stitch. because you have to remember that when I do this stitch from here to here, and then this point is going to come down, it's going to have an opposing stitch direction. It's going to do this little piece here first, then it's going to come down, cross over it, and where those stitches actually connect, they're going to pull apart. So I'm going to go back to my run stitch, and because I have my snap to anchor on, we have a snap to anchor feature within our software, so that it will identify this as one object. As long as I'm hovered over it and I have that little red circle appear, I can click right on there and I can just come here, travel to this point, and at my 6:1 scale, I'm going to put in some little zigzag stitches that are just going back and forth like this, and I'm going to hit my enter. And now I have some stitches in that are going to give me an actual, base down so that it will, not have any disastrous results. When it separates, I'm going to see stitches underneath. Now I can go to my 3, and I'm going to come here now and I'm going to do this open end. Let's do a straight, curve, curve. So I'm just doing curve stitches here all the way to here. I'm going to put a straight in, go straight to here, come straight down to here, go to here, have a little point here, go all the way up to this point here and all the way over to right here. Leave a little bit of space. I'm coming in shorter to allow for that push, right? The pull compensation is there, but I'm allowing for the push. I'm going to enter that now. I'm going to put a point here. I'm going to then put in some stitch directions that are going to follow and do this one right to here and make sure that that one is perfectly vertical. Hit enter, it's going to start and it's going to stop in the same place, and boom, that's done. It's nice and clean. And now I can look at this and I can say, well, I need to travel. I'm going to travel up to here. So there is my finishing point. I can see my little scissors hit the number 1, which is going to bring me back to a run stitch. And I'm just going to run all the way over to here. And I'm going to kind of run back and forth. And then again, I'm going to come here and I'm just going to put in some little zigzag stitches back and forth, just like this manually. And I just find it faster to do it by hand. Hit the enter button. And there is my travel stitch up to there. And let's just go over here. I'm going to go back to my number 3 and I'm going to cut this stitch short, and there is my first left click. Then I'll do rights. I just want to do a bunch of kind of curved inputs, and I'm going to do a straight, and I'm going to come all the way across to this point here so it's nice and straight, and then I'll do another straight, and then I'll go curve, curve, and I'm going to cut this one short, an open end here, an open end here, all the way to this point here, and then right down to this point here. Hit enter, and then I'm going to put in again my inclinations. I'm going to kind of nice inclinations to subtly curve these objects, kind of like this to here, this one to here, and then I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to start and it's going to stop. And I do have my settings so that I have my smart joins that are on. I have, smart join, auto trim, auto lock. So even though it ends here, I know at my next object it's going to actually be all right. So I'm going to just come here now and I'm just going to keep that object on. Let's come here and do this piece, and I'm just going to make sure that I have that chosen. So there it is. And I'm going to come right here and finish that off. Now before I do start my actual satin, I do see that there is a little trim there, and I can go in and have it so that I can view my commands. I find that very, very handy, because if I do see an unnecessary trim, I can go to my sequence view and I can look at these objects and I can say to myself, well, there's that object there. And if I hit the Q key, I can see that there's my start, there's my stop, and that makes me wonder why I have a trim there. So I'm going to go to the next object and I can hit the Q, and I can see that this is why I need to just move that start so that the smart join kicks in. And while I'm at it, I might as well, come over here and put this one right over here. That way I know when I do this next object, I'm going to activate it by hitting the center of my widget. And I'm just going to come right here and I'm just going to put in a straight and then a curve and another curve straight. And I'm going to then come in and go all the way down to this point right here, put a point in. I'm going to now do a little straight and then a curve, and a curve, and I can see my widget is in the way, so I just move that out of the way. Now this is going to be a really tiny area, but the good news is because I do have the PKnit on for the recipe, there will be an adequate amount of pull compensation. So I have the pull comp there. I'm going to come to this point here, and I'm just going to make this a little bit thicker going all the way through. So I'm going to do a point here, here, and then I'm going to come all the way up to the top, and I'm going to do a straight point, curve, 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 and then enter, and then I'm going to put in my stitch direction there. I'm going to come all the way down to here, and I'm going to put in a stitch direction right here. I'm going to put a stitch direction right here, 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 hit enter, and then that should be done. Now for this last object that I created, it is automatically splicing the stitches. And it's splitting the stitches because they are going over a certain stitch length of 7 millimeters. So if I come here and I go to none, I can see now that I got rid of that and I just have a continuous stitch. Now what I'm going to do is go back to my run stitch, and I'm going to put a point right here, and I'm just going to go right over to here and just come in and enter into the next object, something like that. It automatically did the join closest point, so I don't have to worry about that. And now I'm going to go back to my satin, and I'm just going to put a point right here to here, come back down, do curve, 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 and straight, and come straight to here, and I'll just come in, move this over. I can move that over so I have a little bit more real estate as far as, being able to see my design on screen. Come all the way across to here, come right to this point here, and then I'm going to pan over, and I'll come to the opposite side right over here and hit enter. Then I'll put my stitch directions in. Same thing, just kind of coming in and turning these. I can always adjust them as I move forward. And let's just pan over. Again, I can pick up right on the line. I try to put one at the open end of either of my objects, hit enter, and then it's done. Again, it sort of split those stitches there, so I can select that afterwards if I want. I could do it all at the end, or I could do it as I go along, or I could just turn off the split function altogether, which might be a good idea on the properties, but I'm going to keep it on just in case. It's good to have that on. Now I'm going to go back to my one, and I'm going to put a point here to here, and I'm probably going to come in and do some little jagged stitches again right here. Just go back and forth, and that way when these stitches actually split, I'm going to end up having my sort of safety insurance policy put in there. So now I'm going to go back to number 3 on my keyboard, and I'm going to come in and just do a point here. Let's just pan over all the way, put a point right here, point here. I'm going to cut that short a little bit, do a straight, and then put some curves in for my fast draw, and just continue to go like this, and do a straight here, come straight all the way across just like this, and then do curves until I get right to this point here. Hit enter again, have my inclinations, and do something like this. I know that I'll probably end up having a split stitch right here the way I did before, so I'm just going to select that again, and let's just go down and get rid of that split. So I want to make sure that it's going to have none on here. And one of the reasons why I'm not too concerned is because if you do look without the 3D, I do have PK, which is giving me a zigzag with an edge run, so I'm going to have enough underlay to hold that PKnit in place. And of course, you're going to use the right stabilizer. And I do also see here, if I look at my sequence view, I do need to double check those little zigzags that I did there. If I go down to here, I can see again that I have my start and stop point. There's my start, here's my stop. Go to my next object, same thing. I'm just going to bring this one over so it's close enough. I want to get rid of that little pair of scissors, and then I'm going to go all the way back to my satin tool, and I'm just going to do a straight curve, curve, straight. But actually, looking at this, Let's just see here. No, I'm going to be okay. So I'm going to come all the way up to here and go all the way across. And let's just come in, do straight points to here, and then come all the way down and do straight. And then I'm going to do curve, curve, and let's do a straight point right here. Hit enter, and I'm going to put a point all the way across there. And then let's go all the way up to the top, and I just want to have a nice straight point here, and I'll do a nice horizontal point here as well so that it is all in. Let's do start and stop, move that right there. And if I turn the 3D on, I can see again I have a split stitch there, so I need to make sure that I change that split stitch. And I'm going to go to my properties, go all the way down. Let's get rid of that random split. And I'm going to then go to my number 1, and I'm going to pick up right here, go in the middle, and again I'm just going to do a point like this, go across, and then I'm going to come down, and I'm going to do this kind of, I think, in one piece. I mean, I could try to split that, but it's just, it's just, I think it's going to be better off as one object. So I'll go back to my satin, come from here to here, and let's go back down to here, over, and then let's curve, 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 and we'll just go right to a straight point right here and hit enter. And let's just go from here to here, put one more straight in there, enter and enter. And there you can see we have that done. Looks nice and clean. And now all I have to do is my second color. I can see there is a little bit of split stitches right in here. And I'm going to take that one as well. I might as well go in and make sure that there's no random split there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to come now here and just make sure there's no random split there. These both look good as well. So all I have to do is this turquoise piece, but I'm going to grab this color right now. Let's just go all the way up and grab it as one color. And let's change that to purple just so that it's true to our artwork. And now that one is done. Just a quick reminder that this is only the first lesson of 4 in our new logo masterclass. Click the link in the description to learn more. So now I'm going to go back to my 600% scale, and I'm going to change this again to a different color just so we can see it on screen. I'm going to come right up to the top here, and I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm just going to put a point here. Let's make sure we activate it by hitting the center of my widget. And I'm just going to come in and do a few little points there. Come right to here. I'm going to curve now as I go. This is going to be straight. And let's pan down. And I can continue to pan down. That's what I love about this. And I'm going to come right to here, but I'm going to come a little bit closer. In other words, I'm going to leave an open part there because, again, at 6:1, I know that I need to leave a little bit of gapping. And then let's just go right to here, put a point almost all the way across so they are consistent. I'm going to come back over here, come all the way, go straight, straight, and then come up to the top and come right to this point and continue to do that. And now hit enter. Again, open end. And we can do an open end right here just for inclinations, and come all the way to the bottom where this open end is and put an open end right there. And now I'm going to make sure that it's perfectly straight to that angle there. Hit enter and enter, and that one looks good. Now I'm going to travel now on this side, so I'm going to do the same thing, but I know I'm going to change some of the underlay, because if I look here at this, I can see if I take the 3D off, I have my zigzag. I really only need an edge run in here without a zigzag, so I'm going to kind of overwrite my properties afterwards, just to make sure that it actually looks nice and clean, because I'm going to come down here, go up to here, and back over and finish right up at that point. I don't like to end at the bottom because a tie out right here might look actually like it won't look like a sharp needle, and that's what I'm really kind of looking for. So I'm going to go back to my satin, and I'm going to come to this point here, and I'm going to come right to here. So let's just go curve and right to about here, and then I'm going to go all the way across to, let's say, right here. and come back and just do a curve, 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 and right back to here for a curve, and make sure this is nice and straight. Enter. I'm going to do a point here and a point here, and I'm going to hit enter and enter. And I can see there, I'm going to grab these afterwards, and I'm going to do the same thing probably for all three of these. So I'm going to come here now and do this point here, here, and here, and then come across like this. And then here I'm going to come across and do a straight point, hit enter. Again, this is really, really tiny, but I'm just going to make sure that, again, start and stop. Then here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come right here and do this point right here. So put the straight, straight, and then curve around the inside here, coming back to a straight, hit enter, and I'm going to do this point from here to here, here to here, enter and enter. And that should give me a nice clean object. All I need to do is come in and grab these two little pieces, because I think these ones, this one here and this one right here, and if I click on the properties and I go to my underlay settings, I just want a contour. I don't want any zigzag. So I kind of made a custom modification there. If I look at this now, and let's grab that entire color right here and grab this one, and let's make this one a teal color, we're going to see that we end up having a nice clean object. There is very few trims in there. It actually has two colors, and it should sew out just right. So let's go to a fit to screen so I can see that. Let's bring this over right here. I'm going to hide the artwork, so I'm going to unclick the view backdrop, and I'm going to turn on the 3D, and I'm going to go and do a slow redraw. Now right here I can see that this also did exceed that 7 millimeters. So I'm going to grab that one object and make sure that I do the same thing as I did to all the others. I'm going to make sure that there is none for a random split, and that way it's going to look nice and clean. So let's just come here and do the slow redraw, and we see how it looks. So as it stitches out, I can see that it's going to come in, do this point to this point. I do like to go in and do slow redraws on all my designs. I mean, I can kind of find errors sometimes without having to go in and stitch something out. And it really does save me a lot of time because my machine just simply can't stitch this fast. So there I do see one little trim that I want to, I think, get rid of. I see a trim right here that I want to fix. So there's one little thing that I caught. But other than that, I think it looks pretty clean. It's going to go over to here, and that is pretty much it. So I'm going to come right into this point here, and I'm going to go to my sequence view, and I'm going to go right to that point right here and see exactly what's happening. There is my start, there is my stop, and then it is going to, let's just move that one right there. And then let's go to the next object, which is this one here, and hit that. And there's the start, and there's the stop. Actually, looks fine. I think it might be this one here then. So there's the start and stop. Then here we have the start and stop. Oh, I know why there's a trim there. It's because it is the last object. So actually, it does make sense why. It actually wasn't a issue with the design. It was that is the final object that I digitized, and that's where it's going to finish off. So anyways, that is what it's going to look like, and I'm going to make sure that I save this as the JDX file. So I'm going to make sure that I put it in the proper place within my master's classes, and I'm going to call this one EL. I'll just put it down as EL, and I'll put it as underscore left chest. I know it has PK, and I'm going to save that. And then if I wanted to, I could actually take this and I could take that entire design, and let's change that from recipe to cap, and let's hit OK. Actually, I think I have to change the whole, let's just grab the whole thing first. So let's grab that design, and I'm going to grab the whole thing. I'm going to change all of the existing paths to cap, click OK, And if you look at the stitch count on PK, it's 4,032. Hit OK, and it's taken out quite a bit of the stitches actually because of all those zigzags. So now it's 2,516. And this one is not nearly as much pull compensation. You can see this one has a lot more pull comp on it when I undo that. And then I take that out, and it has a lot less pull compensation on it for the finished hats. And I'm going to save this one now, and I'm going to click this one and save as. But this time I'm going to take the underscore, and I'm just going to write in cap. And now I know that I have a design that I could run on a finished hat, and I have a design for PKnit. So I've kind of tackled that. If the customer, who is myself, comes back to me at some point and says, you know, John, I've changed my mind. I really want to put this on a hat. I already have the file ready to go, and it's going to be, you know, running all right. Now, as I look, if I do see anything that I don't like, because I can be a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like this, if I hit the W key, and I'm going to then just come here and move that as far as the inclination, it kind of fixed up that little issue that I saw there. So I want to make sure that that one actually, that one's still off a little bit. So let's bring this one all the way up like that, and up like that. And okay, you know what? I mean, I'm there. Actually, that's perfect. So that's giving me the exact point. That probably wouldn't have made a difference because I'm at 700%, but I tend to get a little picky. At 1-to-1 right here, this is where you have to say to yourself, without the 3D, do you see anything that visually looks like it needs to be fixed? And if at the 1-to-1 scale without the 3D turned on, you see something that sort of glares out to you, then you might want to fix it. But again, this right now is for hats, and if I were to change the whole thing back and call up the original file, there's going to be a lot more underlay in there for the PKnit. So you have to remember that hats can also change as well. I mean, we did the recipe for hats knowing that it might be a structured hat, which means that it has that laminated buckroom already on it. If it is a varsity hat that has absolutely no laminated buckroom behind it, if whether it's 5 or 6 panel, I might want to change that recipe to cotton, because if I change this recipe now and I change it to a cotton recipe, then what's going to end up happening is it's going to give me more of an edge run as on that. It's going to keep the same pull compensation value, but now if you look at the stitch count, and I'm going to say here, I'm going to click OK, it's 5,218 stitches. Now this one has 3,055 because it did add an edge run underlay to everything. And if I were going to change this, and I knew that this was going to go onto a hat style that is a cap, and I can say it is a cap, and I can do underscore varsity, because varsity hats are usually form-fitting to the head. They don't have any, you know, laminated buckroom on under them, and they will require more underlay to keep everything there because you don't have that structure. Then I would change this one to cap varsity, save that file, and now I have 3 files that I can call from for that one design that I created. So this was the first. As we move through this, you're going to see that we're going to get more and more detailed with more options, more lettering, more fills, and gradation. If you're new to machine embroidery and want to start digitizing but don't have software, check out the Digitizing software. It's the easiest digitizing program for beginners and pros. Plus, it includes must-know digitizing theory, embroidery masterclasses, an exclusive group for digitizers, and much more. Level up your embroidery skills today by clicking the link in the description.